Good morning, fourth grade families. Today is NTI day 28. It's a beautiful sunny Wednesday, and we're trucking right along this week and having a good week. I hope you are as well. Love to hear from you. Any questions, any concerns, please give me a call. If you've misplaced my number, call the school. They have my number. They can contact me or email me or message me somehow. Love to hear from you. Today I'm looking at our checklist for the day and reading. We're going to be reading poems. We're going to be using the Venn diagram to compare and contrast the two poems. Tell how they are alike and different with as many details as possible. Then you will be completing the activity central sheet, match the moral. You're going to read 3 short stories on that sheet, and then you'll match the morals in the middle of each story. You'll have to use the blank lined page to help with that because it's dark and you won't be able to just mark that page with the stories. Math, Daily Common Core, estimating metric capacity measurement worksheet, and there's a YouTube video on capacity. Great idea. Watch the video. Science. We're going to be reading Moving Energy and answering the questions that go along with it. There is also a YouTube video on food webs, which is a great idea to watch. And your specials for today, library, complete nonfiction book report. Remember, when we're reading fiction versus nonfiction, we look at the information differently. And so that's why the reports would be different for a nonfiction book compared to a fiction book. I also want to mention on the specials page, I'm currently grading the packets that have been turned in, and there are many, and I appreciate that. Don't skip over the specials. It's part of the packet. Please make sure you have it done. It's important. So, all right. So let's take a look. Toad by the Road is our first poem. If you want to open to that. Toad by the Road. Now, when you're reading poetry, I know that the lines can be short. Sometimes they rhyme, sometimes they don't. What you want to do is, though, you really have to pay attention to the punctuation. So when you read, you don't want to always just stop at the end of the line. You want to keep going until you get to a comma for a pause or a period for a longer pause. So here we go. I'm only a toad by the side of the road, watching the world go by. Some hustle and hurry, some bustle and scurry. Some wiggle, flicker, or fly. They come and they go on their way to and fro, but I'd rather sit and sing. It's a glorious day, so I'm happy to stay and savor the songs of spring. Read that out loud about 3 times, not super fast, nice and slow, nice and smooth, to help you with that. The second one is the poison dart frogs. Have you ever seen those? I believe they had some at Cincinnati Zoo. They're beautiful, beautiful. The Poison Dart Frogs by Douglas Florian. Brown with oval orange spots, crimson mottled black with blots, neon green with blue-black bands, tangerine with lemon strands, banana yellow, ultramarine. Almost any color seen. And though their poison can tip a dart, these frogs are masters of fine art. 2 poems written from very different angles to look at. Okay, activity central page, match the moral. Okay, when you're looking at the moral of a story, the moral of a story is the lesson of the story. It's supposed to teach you, as the reader, how to be a better person. A lesson learned, usually through the actions of the characters or what's going on in the scenario. Typically, someone has to do something wrong in order to learn a lesson, and that's probably pretty true fact. So it's to help everyone maybe learn from a character in a story rather than experience to avoid making those mistakes. So remember, the moral is the lesson that's learned, the lesson of the story. What can make you a better person through that teaching? All right, match the morals. So the morals are in a circle in the center of the page, and it says, look before you leap, Choose your friends wisely. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So there are 4 short stories that go along, and you have to choose which one goes with which. I will quickly read those, but I want you to reread them as well. 3 short frog fables follow, but the moral of each has gotten separated from its story. Match the moral to the fable it fits. That's your directions. All right, let's start with the frogs and the well. 2 frogs lived in a small pond, but one hot summer it dried up. While looking for a new home, they came to a deep well. "This looks like a cool, wet place to live. Let's dive in," said one frog. "Not so fast, my friend. What if this well dries up like the pond? How would we get out?" replied the other frog. The next one is the mouse, the frog, and the hawk. A mouse and a frog were friends. One day the frog thought it would be fun to tie his leg to the mouse's. This was fine while they were in the meadow. Later, though, the frog hopped to the pond with the mouse. The poor mouse couldn't swim and drowned. A passing hawk snatched them both and flew to its nest. Still tied to the mouse, the frog also became the hawk's dinner. Frog and Toad. A frog and a toad were sitting by a pond. Each thought himself handsome and the other ugly. A girl passed by and saw the two. "Yuck!" she cried as she ran away, disgusted by both. Okay, think on those for a while before you make any decisions. All right, let's get back to the science. I did want to note, make sure when you're doing these measurements, when you're trying to make best estimations and things, think about it. Think about size and what's reasonable or logical. If something that's very small, what could it really be and what can it not be? So a milliliter is equal to about 20 drops of water. If you're not sure what that is, go get a cup and some water and drop 20 drops. Versus a liter, many large soda bottles are either 1 or 2 liters. 1 liter is about 1,000 milliliters. So 1,000 milliliters times by 20 drops of water is what you're going to get in a liter. So think about relationship there. All right. Make sure you read them closely. Your science reading today, Chapter 6, Energy Transfers in Ecosystems, Moving Energy. Energy Pyramids. Have you turned to that page? Okay, we're ready. Organisms in an ecosystem obtain energy from food. A diagram called an energy pyramid shows how much food energy is passed from one organism to another along a food chain. The base of an energy pyramid shows producers. These organisms use energy from the sun to make their own food. The plant stores some of this food, and the rest is used for life processes. The other levels of an energy pyramid represent consumers. Just above the producers are the plant-eating consumers. Plant eaters use most of the energy from plants for life processes. A small amount is stored in their bodies. Only about 10% of the food energy at each level is passed up to organisms in the next level of the pyramid. Because there is less food energy available, there are fewer animals in each higher level of the pyramid. Food chains and food webs. A food chain shows one path of energy flow, but most organisms get energy from more than one source. For example, squirrels and deer eat both acorns and blueberries. Several food chains that overlap form a food web. In a food web, animals that eat producers are called first-level consumers. Animals that eat the first-level consumers are called second-level consumers. Animals that are not eaten by other animals are called top-level consumers. Changes in an ecosystem affect food chains and webs. For example, when birds eat insects, they help keep the number of insects from getting too large. But if too many birds are eating insects, the birds reduce the insect population too quickly. Then there will not be enough food for the birds. Some will leave the area or die, and fewer young birds will be born. This brings the ecosystem back into balance. You have your 6 multiple choice questions to go along with that, and your open response question. Love this diagram. Take a moment and look at that. Follow the arrows. Hint, in a food web, a food may be eaten by 2 or more kinds of animals, and an animal may eat 2 or more kinds of food. Study the diagram of the food web. Classify each of the organisms as a producer, a first-level consumer, a second-level consumer, or a third-level consumer. Explain the energy flow in the food web. Think about which way the arrows are going. And then you have your library specials. Please make sure you complete those. Okay, so I know packets 31 through 35 are available in the school foyer. So when you drop off the next set of packets that you have completed, make sure you pick those up as well. Check in with your friends. If you haven't talked to them in a while, maybe give somebody a call, see how they're doing. Check and see if they're getting their packets done and if they need help, okay? Just because we can't see each other face to face doesn't mean we can't talk on the phone or video chat or do whatever we need to do, all right? All right, so it's that time. Hope you have a fabulous day, and I'll see you soon.